The Democrats spent months warning that Kevin Warsh was going to be a rubber stamp for Donald Trump at the Federal Reserve. His first meeting as Fed chair, he put some of that to rest. Warsh held rates steady. He was tough on inflation and, in a break from Fed tradition, refused to submit a forecast on the dot plot. Charlie just publishing this piece in the New York Post saying a man they called a Trump loyalist just proved he answers to the data, not the White House. Now, I agree with you, Charlie, that in this instance, that is what happened here. But had we absent an Iran war and an oil price that has shot up, impacting the inflation number, would Kevin Warsh be cutting rates?
Well, if the data suggested so. I mean, I think one thing that what I found fascinating about the attacks on him from people like Elizabeth Warren, who, by the way, when Sleepy Joe Biden was out there inflating the economy with lots of spending, which he probably didn't even know how much he was spending, and Jerome Powell was printing money on the monetary side. I don't remember her like yapping about 9% inflation that much.
Warren, yeah, no,
right?
It was transitory.
But it was transitory, and even when it wasn't transitory, it was like, oh, who cares? Now somehow, when we have 2+% inflation, it's not, it's dire, and we have a guy like Kevin Warsh, who was appointed by a president who wants lower interest rates, somehow that he's a lackey for this president. If you know Kevin Warsh, and I do, for him to turn overnight to be a dove, he would have to have had a lobotomy. And trust me, I spoke with the guy not too long ago. He has not had a lobotomy. He cares about, this is his whole reason for being, he was a thought, when he left the Fed back after the financial crisis, which he played a key role in, and then he went into academia, he became a thought leader on the Fed's use of the balance sheet to stoke inflation. This guy is opposite of all that. Now, does he have a balancing act with a president that wants what he wants when he wants it? Yes.
But the president hasn't asked for it. He's wise enough to know it's not appropriate.
Is he going to throw him under the bus? I don't think Trump will do that. Is Kevin Warsh not going to let the data speak for itself, which is great? Yes. And if it merits a rate cut, he will. If it merits doing nothing, he will. If it merits a rate increase, he will. And the bigger, though issue is, here's what I would say. Warsh will argue that, we spend a little too much time worrying about the Fed funds rate and not enough time worrying about the 10-year. Now, that's his boss, too.
Well, and the balance sheet.
And the balance sheet. But that's basically connected. But that's his boss as well. By the way, Scott Bessent is going to be speaking at the Economic Club of New York tonight, I believe. Bob Steele, who's a longtime Wall Street executive, is going to be doing the interview. And I told Bob, I go, ask Bessent why he has failed to tell Trump that it's the 10-year that matters and not the Fed funds rate when it comes.
What do you mean he's failed? You're joking, right? He said that.
I know.
He's said that publicly.
He's failed to convince.
That's that's a different thing.
Why has he failed to convince Trump that it's the 10-year that matters?
I don't think he's failed to do that. I think.
Well, Trump doesn't care about the 10-year. He's talking about the Fed funds rate constantly.
Wait a minute.
Watching it very closely.
Wait a minute. Right after Warsh was sworn in, President Trump, was it right after, he made the comment about not rate. He stopped talking about cutting short-term interest rates. He said,
just don't hike.
Just don't hike.
So,
and talking to a lot of people, it's like the fact that the 10-year is well anchored, and right now that oil is under $73 a barrel right now. The upcoming inflation indicators will be,
better.
CPI will be better.
Right.
And
AI
this is well anchored, and mortgage rates will come down because of that, or stay steady and beyond. Right now, the Fed funds rate, because it's below the inflation rate, is stimulative. So it's it's got juice.
I would just say that I think you really do have to Trump has been on this Fed funds rate cut forever.
His life, probably.
Okay, so like, one day him changing, go to a little
He's in
soft.
high school.
I also don't think
be
it's
careful
any
with that.
coincidence that we have this memorandum of understanding, which to me is
Which is
just
what,
a
with
ceasefire
Iran?
and kicking the can down the road with Iran.
Yeah.
That's bringing the oil price down under 73 when you had a 10-year that was around that 4.5 range. He is watching those rates very closely. He doesn't like the high oil price, and some would say that he punted this whole thing just because he blinked and said oil has to come down at least for now, and it did.
Probably. It's a stupid deal
I know.
only for that reason.
We can debate. Look, there's Kevin Warsh, the villain, who was invented by Democrats.
Right.
And there's Kevin Warsh, the reality, who I think aims to be the most boring Fed chair
Thank God.
we've ever had. And that's great. He wants the Fed to recede. He wants it to focus on inflation, I think. He wants to fix some of the internal models. He will be the furthest thing from what Democrats have painted him to be, and it will make them say increasingly stupid things
And
to try to change that
a sea
reality.
change from Fed chair. Let's be clear. Like, I covered Greenspan back in the day. Everybody says Greenspan had that Greenspan speak. Remember, he would be very obtuse, like
You covered Arthur Burns,
Yeah.
for Pete's sake.
I covered Arthur Burns.
Good one.
Yeah, when I was 13. But I was a little bit of an economic savant when I was 13. But Greenspan started this whole thing about giving forward guidance and talking about stuff that moves the markets. Let's be real clear. And Greenspan, as you know, just recently passed at 100. He has a very mixed record. I think what's great about Kevin is Kevin's going to reverse all this stuff. Let the data. Why should the Fed be a policy-making agency? That's up to the government. That's up to the Fed. That's for fiscal policy. That's for Scott Bessent and
Blessedly
and Congress
boring. Blessedly boring.
and Trump.